I'm George Lang, and this is Static. My guest today is Stephen Stark. He comes from a classical background. You can hear him playing his cello in quartets and quintets around Oklahoma City, but you can also hear him in solo performances, playing his unique brand of chamber pop. He also appeared in Rainbow Around the Sun, the film that he did with Matthew Brown and his bandmates and the fellowship students. And he recently released an album called A is for Airplanes, B is for Baseball, C is for Cats, which kind of sounds like a children's album, at least from the title. But it's definitely not. It's for everyone. This is Stephen Stark.
I think about that a lot. In my cynical moments, I tell people, boy, if I wasn't a musician, I really could have been somebody. But seriously, I think that all of us, or a lot of us anyway, get to a point in our life where we kind of become kind of obsessed with something to where we drive our own learning instead of teachers or something like that driving our learning. And for me, in high school and early college, I became obsessed with the idea of music composition, with the history of the Western classical music tradition. I read every book I could get my hands on. I listened to things constantly. You know, a lot of people think of teenagers in high school, you know, wearing all black and eyeliner and listening to Joy Division or something in their room alone. Well, I didn't wear black and I didn't have eyeliner, but I did listen to, you know, Beethoven and Dvorak in my room alone quite a bit. So one of the advantages that a classical training can give you is you're able to take everything and put it into a more visual sense. For instance, I can work on a song, but I can also perhaps write out the chord progression or something like that, so I can really study it and try to see if I'm using too many of the same patterns or if I need to vary things a little bit more. So it enables you to have just a little bit more control over all the different aspects of the music you're trying to make. When I decided to write songs when I was about 19 or 20, basically instead of being a classical composer, it was very difficult for me to figure out what I was trying to do. A song, no matter how much you compose it and control it, what it's really about is trying to get people to sing along, and it's about creating rhythms that are, it may not be dance music, but we're using strong rhythms to try to create a certain feel. Classical music is about sitting there and listening to just a more abstract progression of thought. It's about music that's to be listened to. Well, I had been recording some albums recently that were exclusively or limited to acoustic guitar, cello, and my voice. And the idea was not to collaborate with anybody else. Just what would I do if I am completely alone? What can I make? And I thought that was a really relevant thing to do and interested me. But obviously, that would get really tiresome and old, and I'd keep just rehashing the same things if I did that exclusively. So with A is for Airplanes, I thought, I really want to involve my friends in making this record, namely the fellowship students, plus a few others. The other factor in it was my wife became pregnant, and I had always wanted to do a studio album, and I thought, you know what? This is a deadline. My son, Severin Eugene, his arrival will be a moment of great joy, and it's also going to be the deadline for getting this album done, because I don't want to mess with it. I know I'm not going to be able to mess with it once he gets here, so let's do this. So that deadline really helped me to get it done, and so I don't know if it's my favorite thing I've ever recorded. I do like it a lot, but the point is I just had to do a studio album involving a lot of other people musically.